Hi, hello, and welcome to another episode of the Dunker Spot. We are part of 342 Productions. I am your host, Nekias Duncan, and joining me as always is my co-host, Steve Jones Jr. Steve, how are you doing, sir?
Feeling good, feeling great, happy to be here, excited to be here. Thank you, Dunkers, for once again embracing your bounce. Dunker Nation, let's ride. Nekias, let's hoop it up. I guess for this 200th episode, you want to have a huge all-night party.
Yeah, I just couldn't wait to celebrate. So we were recording very early on a Tuesday morning. And by early, I mean Suns Nuggets game 2 just ended not too long ago. And we are going right into our thoughts about that game, some of the other ones over the weekend. So we are on the midst of some delirium, but we are having fun. Basketball is fun. Playoff hoops are fun. And this is episode 200. We've been doing this for a minute now, man.
Yes. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank y'all. Really happy to be here. I don't know how long this is going to last. I did get the old skincare routine in, so I got a little bit of energy, but let's talk some hoops.
Let's talk some hoops and D's. We will start with the Philadelphia 76ers snatching game 1 from the Boston Celtics on the road. No Joel Embiid. His status is currently still up in the air. There's some optimism that he'll be available for game 2, but we don't know that for sure right now. But Philadelphia, a 119-115 victory over the Boston Celtics. James Harden. We have to start with James Harden.
There's some apologies that need to be had towards James Harden. I'm looking at, there may be one person on here who may have been like, I don't know, buddy, I don't know, the switches. That man wore those pants and did his dance.
That he did. 45 points. Playoff career high for James Harden. 6 assists to boot, but man, I just had a ton of fun watching James Harden in this one. He set the tone early. Digging in a little bit about the method of attack for him. Not a lot of free throws in this one. Mixed in some drives, had to step back going from 3, had to step back going in the mid-range area. With him in pick and roll, which is a question that I kind of had entering the series, I wound up doing a thread about it before the game. Like, hey, if there's no Joel Embiid, it's going to be James Harden-centric offense. How will Boston treat the others? How will they treat James Harden? I would imagine, 1 through 3 or 1 through 4, they'll switch a lot of the stuff with Harden. The big, whether it's Al Horford or Robert Williams, likely in a drop, but we'll see. But more importantly, what are they going to do with the others? How much help would they show off of Tobias? How much help would they show off of PJ? Where is he going to be spaced, et cetera, et cetera? And James Harden, just threw a lot of this over the top rope with his shot making. But beyond that, as the game progressed, it was a lot of, hey, I may be defended by this guy, but let me find Jalen Brown's man. Let's set a screen. Let's get that switch. And then Al Horford or Robert Williams, whichever one's on the court, you come here. Let's come defend his action. I'm going to get dropped. I'm going to make Jalen Brown navigate a screen. And then with this pocket of space here, I'm going to lead the dance. I'm going to get to the midi. I'm going to get all the way to the rim. If it turns into a late switch, I'm going to draw you out and we're going to dance a little bit above the break. That's going to be fun. And so, that's one of the things that popped for me very early on. It's like, okay, he's found a matchup that he likes. He's found someone that he likes to attack. And then it just went to, okay, where's Al Horford? Is where it ended up devolving into. And some of the numbers behind that was kind of nasty, but I have rambled enough. What popped for you in game 1?
Well, sticking on the Harden point, he did set the tone right from the jump. I think first play early on, it was a drop from Al Horford, and he went right to a pull-up. It's like, oh, these are the takes and makes that he's going to have to do to beat Boston in this game. I thought as the game progressed, there were some switches, but I think the fact that Boston stuck with the drop for so long gave him a level of comfort. And then as the subs came in, he saw Grant Williams, and he immediately said, hey, Grant Williams, let's have a chat, pal.
And man, first section against Grant Williams is a bucket.
Yeah, he was definitely on a mission, and he mixed in not just the step back threes. We saw based on our balance, he got a catch and shoot 3, step back mid range. He was getting to the shots that he wanted to, but I think it overall just tied into Philadelphia having so much more of a comfort in this game than maybe people had expected because of Boston's defense, because of Boston's personnel, because of what Boston can do switching wise. Tyrese Maxey felt comfortable. Like Tobias Harris felt comfortable. Like everyone felt like they had a rhythm to them, and they were getting to drive and kick, and they played with tempo and pace. Like defense was optional in the first half. Like what was it
Yes.
that one team was shooting 87%, the other one was shooting 80, and it was like, wait, what's happening right now? Like, wasn't Boston shooting like 70% in the first half or something like that? I
Yeah,
should look
it
it
was
up
up
and be
there.
responsible on my platform, but
Stats. They shot well in the first half is where we start. But no, like I'm glad you spoke about the comfort. And on the Maxey front, as we're recording again very early on a Tuesday, like if we were to do the preview before the game, like what I had in the doc was Tyrese Maxey is my X factor. Because over the last couple of years, as Tyrese Maxey has ascended, one of the few teams that he hasn't really been able to figure out and give consistent impact against are just Boston Celtics. Between the screen navigators that they have at the point of attack, the switching that they can throw at you, what they've had inside the rim, like it hasn't been fun for Tyrese Maxey in the Boston matchup. So the fact that he was showcasing comfort, and as we were watching the game with our watch party, and you quickly noted, hey, Tyrese Maxey's getting dropped. He's getting deeper drop than James Harden is, but this is a lot of space that Tyrese Maxey's getting. And even with some of the pull-ups that he missed, it's just like, these are shots in his wheelhouse. And he's not hesitating on these shots. He is going right into the pull-up, or if there's enough space, he's just chewing up that space and driving, getting to the floater, trying to get to the rim. The fact that Tyrese Maxey looked as comfortable as he did, in addition to 26 points for him in this game. So obviously that helps, and he did so efficiently. But the level of comfort that he showcased in this game, like I think that bodes well. And zooming out to your overall point about the pace earlier, man, it was fast. Like the game itself just went by quickly. There weren't a lot of foul calls. There weren't a ton of turnovers in that first half. It was just very fast, clean basketball. And it was fun and funny to watch because it's like, okay, cool. Philadelphia playing with tempo. This is neat. Like, obviously, you miss Joel Embiid. He's the best player on the team, one of the best players in the league. It's like, oh, well, you put Paul Reed in here. They're just going to run. They're just going to get through their stuff a little bit faster. That's interesting. And then on the other end, though, if Philadelphia missed a shot, here comes Boston in transition, getting to the rim whenever they wanted to. And even in the half court, hey, Paul Reed, you're comfortable switching. You are not Joel Embiid. We are going to drive and drive and drive and drive some more, and then we'll get an offensive rebound if we miss because you've helped over to contest a shot at the rim, and we're going to get a bucket that way. And it's just like, this is the give and take. Very basic take, but like, okay, you don't have the hub and Joel Embiid. You don't have someone just roving around the paint. It looks different on both ends of the floor. And so it was just kind of fun to watch Philadelphia work through it in real time. Like, hey, how about we just toss out some zone? Let's see what this looks like in the second quarter. Let's do something different here because Boston looks very comfortable getting downhill. Where can we send help? How early can we peel in that help? And so, like, watching them problem solve on the fly was fun for me. And even Boston, again, it was nice just to see the general aggression from them. Like, I had a concern as I made the thread a little bit earlier. Like, one, Boston just has to take care of business. If Joel Embiid isn't there, they have to take care of business. But beyond that, I made the point, this can't really be the quick shot game for them. They can't afford to lose the plot because even though they are more talented, they have more answers than Philadelphia does without Embiid. There's still a roadmap for Philadelphia to win this game. They can still have, like, if James Harden has it going, and boy, did he have it going tonight, that's enough to make this game tight. That's enough to bring things in. And in regards to the others, like I kind of highlighted from the Philly side, like if Tyrese Maxey gets the ball in the swing, he has to attack quickly. He has to shoot quickly or attack quickly. Same for Tobias Harris, et cetera, et cetera. For Boston, they also needed to have the good decision-making game too. They had to have the quick decision-making game too. And things just kind of petered out for them in that second half. And that's a testament to what Philadelphia did, but Boston didn't really help themselves either.
It's wild because every part of the formula coming into this one, my thought was, hey, Philadelphia, you don't have Joel Embiid. See what you can find out tonight in this game. See what you can find offensively. See if you can find something defensively that will help these non-Embiid lineups. So whenever Joel comes back, hey, these guys will be only playing this amount of minutes. You have your Embiid package. What he brings defensively, you'll be good to go. I did not expect that to be a win. And I did not expect that game to go how it did, especially because Boston, as part of the formula, it's Boston has to do the thing offensively. They have to get in their own way a little bit. And they came out not doing that. That ball was popping. They were cutting. The tempo was good. They were keeping Philadelphia on their heels. Problem was Philadelphia kept scoring. And I think the thing with Boston is they have to try and find that balance between their tempo and their pace and just actual execution. What are we
Mhm.
trying to get? Who are we trying to attack? Are we putting Tyrese Maxey in pick and roll? How do we react when they're switching? I think the Sixers, their activity, especially in that second half, was very good. I thought they showed some switching. I thought they showed some really good help. I thought, they put a little bit more pressure on Boston than maybe Boston expected. And I think that's a credit to Philadelphia. That's probably been the biggest surprise in this playoffs is Philadelphia's defense popping to this level. And we've seen it in a couple series now. So it's one of those things where it's like, okay, Boston has to find a way to just put it all together. Just put it all together in one game. And this is going to be a tough one to swallow.
A tough one to swallow indeed. And like just some quick shout outs on the Philly side. You mentioned the activity. Like again, Paul Reed cycled through multiple coverages in this one. There was a little bit of drop. It was mostly switching from him. There's some at the level stuff that I wasn't a huge fan of, but like you kind of walked me off the ledge on that front. Like, hey, I think they just want to mix up looks. You don't want to give Boston the same thing. He did his job. D'Anthony Melton got some of the Tatum matchup. D'Anthony Melton just could not miss in the first half. Like some very crucial threes, some crucial drives for him as well. He really stepped up in this one. Tobias Harris with some timely plays made. PJ Tucker with some timely offensive rebounds. Did not score in this one. I think there's some kind of stat going around 37 minutes or whatever he played with 0 points, whatever. PJ Tucker made plays. He fought defensively as well. I'm just really impressed with what Philadelphia was able to do in this one.
Think about this, Nekias. If I had told you, hey, fourth quarter of a playoff game, Tyrese Maxey is going to switch on to Jayson Tatum. It's going to be a switch and double. The person doubling is going to be James Harden. What would you anticipate the result to be?
A bucket and or a foul.
And they got to stop. They force a turnover. And that's where you got to credit that activity. My bigger concern, if we're widening it out, I think Boston needs to find what they want to do defensively. I just don't think that you want to give Philadelphia the automatic drop. You don't want to give Maxey that much space to get in rhythm and feel comfortable. You want to give Harden that much space to get in rhythm and get comfortable, which is odd because it's a Boston team that we've seen flip matchups and put a wing on a big and have Al Horford roam around. They never really tapped that button. We've seen them go to switch and double, but every time they did, James Harden was ready. Philadelphia hit a pass, skip pass three. Boston's got to be able to put their paws on Philadelphia, especially if Embiid's going to be out for a long time and kind of keep them in a box. I think if their defense was better, then this is probably a whole different result. But because Philadelphia was able to swing back and forth with them, you get into the fourth and James Harden is cooking like that. Rough couple days in Boston for sports.
Yeah, between what basketball and hockey and I don't know how the old Red Sox is doing. Baseball isn't my thing, but doesn't seem to be doesn't seem to be a good time there.
I will give this though: the drives from Jayson Tatum were tremendous in this game. I thought his effort to get to the rim consistently. I thought he set the tone. I liked what he did. The Jalen Brown usage, just the overall usage in the second half. And then the bench, Grant Williams, Sam Hauser played 9 minutes combined. And in those 9 minutes, Philadelphia said, hey, would you guys please come play defense? In at least 7 out of them. That's my guess. So they've got some things to look at.
I guess I'll toss a quick question to you before we move to the next game, the one we just finished watching not too long ago. You mentioned that Boston kind of needs to find their defense and they need to find what their best coverage is going to be. There's something along those lines. I think one, just kind of zooming out to this game plus the Atlanta series, I'm just a little surprised at what the bigs have looked like. Like I think Robert Williams defensively very much outplayed Al Horford in round one. And it's not like Boston didn't do different things. Like we saw Horford in the drop. We saw him step up. We saw those turn into switches. They did throw some switches and doubles with him involved. How concerned are you about Horford moving forward defensively?
I've seen enough from Al to believe that he'll figure it out. Especially, I think this is a little bit different matchup wise than maybe they had anticipated, or maybe they had planned for. Maybe a little bit different, tempo, pace, probably some more pick and roll than if Joel Embiid was in the lineup. And they're going to need him because if and when Joel Embiid comes back, that's a big matchup. Either him defending it one-on-one or him guarding someone else and roaming and helping. So they need him to have an impact. The bigger difference is he's got to make sure he has a coverage against Maxey. He's got to make sure he has a coverage against Harden. And I think Boston's too good of a team, and he's too prideful of a defender to have this be the entire story. But if it is, the Celtics are in trouble.
Yeah, it can get kind of rough. And just on the Celtics front, before we move on, I would just say I mentioned for Philadelphia, it's going to be a big decision-making series for some of their others. Jalen Brown's going to have to be better than he was in game one. Got off to a hot start in the first quarter, and it got kind of quiet from there. There were some drives, some missed reads, in addition to, again, James Harden finding a little bit of comfort with the matchup defensively. So I think he can play better. I think he will play better ultimately, but they will need better from him moving forward in this series. Now, the Denver Nuggets, 2-0 lead, handled both of their games at home. A 125-107 win in game one, where they just shot the leather off the ball for most of it. And then just game two, bit of a slugfest, 97-87 victory for the Denver Nuggets in this one. Jokic, 39 and 16. Sprinkled in 5 assists as well, because why not? But man, I think for me, with this game two, and honestly, you can go back to game one as well, Denver's defense has really come to play in this series. I think the game plan itself and how they've kind of handled Phoenix's stars, if it's Devin Booker, we were putting Jokic at the level, it's 2 to the ball, we were going to funnel your decisions. Like, you're going to have to make this pass here. We are helping off of whoever your fifth is in the weak side corner, or even if he's in the strong side corner, we're helping off. We got 2 to the ball, pass the ball to DeAndre Ayton, make him make decisions. Same thing if Kevin Durant got the ball. If it's a high pick and roll or if he's coming off of a handoff, we got Jokic at the level. We're not letting you turn the corner. We are sending help off of whoever your fifth is. Pass the ball to DeAndre Ayton, or, if Chris Paul, and we don't know what his health status is right now, or if it's Chris Paul, make them make decisions, make them make shots. And I just think that's just strong logically. Like, take those 2 out as much as you can. You're not going to stop Devin Booker. You're not going to stop Kevin Durant. But if you can limit, I guess, just the decision-making tree for them, and if you can make their shots contested and make that tough, that gives you more of a margin for error. And I think through 2 games, and really, especially in this game too, they've done a really good job of limiting what those 2 guys have been able to do and what they've been able to open up.
I think for Denver, the question was, what are they going to do defensively? And I like for the second straight series, we're seeing the versatility, trying different things to throw Phoenix out of rhythm. Chris Paul, health or not, his pick and roll was just a drop. Hey, man, here's the space. Do what you will with it.
Mm-hmm.
Devin Booker at the level, 2 on the ball. You have to make play after play after play. And then if you do, well, Jokic steps back a little bit. Still here, but not as aggressive. Still 2 on the ball, still forcing help. You have to make these reads over and over again. If it's one-on-one, you might get a double team. If we're smaller with Aaron Gordon and Jeff Green in there, we're going to switch. We're just trying to throw as much as we can at Devin Booker to take him out of rhythm. And then with KD, it's very tough, but trying to be physical, trying to be active. So I've liked that Denver's been able to stick with their help principles and just kind of cycle through things as this game has gone on. Even in this game too, where Phoenix did have a run, as ugly of a game as it was, where they did figure out, hey, we can get to Denver's defense a little bit. If we are patient and we take this show, we drag it out, Devin Booker taking an extra dribble, holding Nikola Jokic, holding the help to the roll, and then now playing out of it, either hitting Ayton under the basket or hitting KD for a skip pass. They got good stuff out of that. Denver said, okay, cool. Nikola Jokic, you guard campaign. Hey, Jokic, go guard Josh Okogie. Well, they got burned on one roll with Okogie, but otherwise they were able to kind of navigate it. And I thought KCP had a really great play in this game too, where it's a pick and roll, and it looks like they're going to switch for a second. But really, KCP was just waiting for Okogie to roll, and then he came back, kicked Jokic out, and I was like, oh, Denver's really locked in right now.
Mm-hmm.
And with their defense playing at this level, they can survive nights like this where the offense was Nikola Jokic featuring transition and some Jamal Murray late.
Boy, Jamal Murray, not the game one performance for sure. Where again he set the tone very early in the game one. 34 points for him, 9 assists for him in that game one. We'll just say kindly he did not have that kind of offensive performance in game 2, 0 of 9 from 3 in particular, but made the plays late that he needed to.
I would say you got to give Phoenix credit on that point. They really worked to be more physical with Jamal Murray. They were trying to take away some of Denver's movement with their physicality, and I think that helped. I did think Denver got some good stuff out of their elbow action, and that's going to be important for Denver to find that balance between their movement and their cutting and putting pressure on Phoenix that way between Jokic post-ups and the amount of things he can do offensively, but while keeping Jamal Murray involved, keeping Michael Porter Jr. involved, so they're able to generate quality looks.
Makes sense. While we're talking a little bit about Denver's offense, we'll flip it. How did you feel about Phoenix's defense in this game too, and how have you felt about it in the series so far? Do you think they're hitting kind of the right notes so far?
It's a much better effort than game one. I felt like early in the series they were caught getting hurt in pick and roll. Jamal Murray had a lot of space. He's leading the dance, which is why you saw the difference with more pressure when he had the ball in his hands, more activity from Ayton. More of a conscious effort just to at least get a body towards him. I think the cutting is kind of throwing them off a little bit, but again, they did better. Game one, it felt like Denver was able to touch every button of their offense.
Mm-hmm.
In this game two, it felt like Phoenix was able to kind of get them mud adjacent, be active, force them deeper into the clock, and that's going to be important. They're going to have to try and take something away from Denver, or at least make it very tough to where, okay, Jamal Murray, you only get this. Michael Porter, you only get this. We're not giving you the easy layups. Now we are able to push and run.
Got you. Mentioned a little bit earlier, Chris Paul, don't know what his health status is going to be. He did leave the game with a groin injury during the game two. Not sure what his status is going to be for game 3 or moving forward. If Chris Paul is not able to go, how do you see Phoenix attempting to adjust without him?
It's just going to be more for Devin Booker, more for Kevin Durant, honestly, in my opinion. And then you'll have to continue to work to try and find the lineups that you want to use. You know, there's only so many minutes for campaign to play. So you're going to have to find another wing that you trust to do the job for you. And I think the Suns have been trying to cycle through what lineups to find in this series. And it's been interesting. Something we talked about in the lead up to this series is, does this Phoenix Suns team know each other well enough to really hit the right notes? So even when you got to the point of this game where you are actually opening things up offensively, and you've got Denver on their heels, so you're getting 2 on the ball, you're getting what you want. Now are we going empty corner? Is Devin Booker space in the right spot, or is it Josh Okogie? Who's where? Which pieces are going what? What sets are we running? It just kind of feel like they haven't been able to hit that button well enough. So I think whoever you feel like is going to be the best threat for you is probably the most important thing, because of the way that they guarded Chris Paul anyways.
Yeah. And to that point, again, they have been very comfortable. And this even goes back to the Clipper series. We talked about it. Teams have been comfortable helping off of Chris Paul. Like, one, y'all got Kevin Durant and Devin Booker out there. We gotta invest our attention. Like, we only have so much capital there. We're gonna make sure that those 2 guys don't beat us. So just by virtue of the talent that he's playing with, he's gonna be seeing some open looks. But beyond that, though, between just the shot release speed for Chris Paul and his overall willingness to take some of these shots, and just how, I guess, stationary he can be off the ball. This is someone that relocates a ton. He'll lift occasionally, but this isn't someone, he's not running around like Steph. We'll put it like that. He's become more of a help point than I think maybe even Phoenix anticipated. And so now removing him from the equation, like, I would imagine we do see more campaign in game 3, assuming Chris Paul isn't able to go. And like, there's maybe room to argue, I think campaign is just going to be more aggressive. He's going to be more willing to take those catch and shoots, or at the very least, he's going to be more willing to catch and drive. And maybe because of that difference, you may get a little bit more of a jolt when he's playing alongside Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. So we'll keep an eye on that. But man, he hasn't shot well. Like, he's just now working his way back into the rotation. And I can't say the defense is great for campaign right now. So it's gonna be a dip, I feel, overall.
Well, I'm gonna ask you.
Okay.
How do you feel about the math? How do you feel about the shot profile? How do you feel about the rim pressure?
We are hitting all of the Nekias Duncan notes. I respect it. Well, game one was not it. You take 5 threes in the first half of game one. And on top of only taking 5 threes in the first half of game one, you're also just losing the possession battle between turnovers and offensive rebounds. And so, like, that was kind of the big whammy for me because you head into the series, like, you know who the Phoenix Suns are. They're going to take a bunch of mid range shots. When you have the shot makers that you have, that's just kind of how it goes. So you're already kind of at a math advantage, per se. You can't have that and also lose the possession battle. And I think that's really what hammered him in game one. Game two, there was a very clear emphasis. We are getting threes up. The amount of contested threes that we saw Devin Booker and Kevin Durant take in the first half in particular. And these are shots that they are comfortable taking and making. But you could tell, Monty Williams said something. Or game plan guy said something, or analytics staff said something. Like, okay, we're not going to fundamentally change who they are. They still took a pretty big percentage of shots from mid-range in this one. It wasn't the near 50% rate they had in game one, but it's still a high number. But we can't get outshot like that. And so naturally, it's funny that neither team could make threes at all in this game. And I think Denver still ended up with more 3-point attempts. But yeah, like, I think they're still trying to find their way there. I think it mostly boils down to what shots are you generating? Are you getting the threes that you want? Because it's telling to me that a lot of the corner threes that they're getting, they're being funneled to Josh Okogie. They're being funneled to Torrey Craig when he's out there. Like we saw Ish Smith in game two. They are really cycling through who they want to play. But I think that's also just a testament to Denver's defensive game plan. Like, hey, we're putting two to the ball. We are helping here. So if you make this skip, you're going to get an open shot, but it's an open shot that we are okay with. And I really do think Denver deserves a lot of credit for their game plan. But just looking at Phoenix's roster construction, bouncing off of what you said a little bit earlier, they're still trying to figure out who they are in a sense, what they want to run. In this context, they're still trying to figure out who their lineups are, what their lineups are, who their trusted pieces are. So it's a lot for Phoenix to try to work through in real time. And even with all of that being said, you zoom out, Denver's up 2-0 because they won their home games. This series is going to Phoenix. We will see what game 3 looks like. Series isn't over.
Are you telling me the series does not start until a road team wins?
I see what bit you're
Duncan, huh?
I see what bit you were trying to set up. That's fine.
Now here's the wild part, right? So Suns went 6 for 31 in game 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those 6 threes made by Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, who themselves went 6 for 20.
Not ideal for your two best players to shoot, what is that, 30% from 3, if I could do quick math?
Yeah, that's not great. And for Denver, to win a game where you score sub 100, Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. combined to shoot 5 for 22. You got to feel a little good. Like, you're sitting there, your bench non-Jokic minutes have been solved in the playoffs somehow because Jeff Green and Aaron Gordon are just becoming this force that people can't figure out. KCP's playing well. It's good times. It's good times.
I will once again shout out Michael Porter Jr. is working on defense, man. He's been working on defense all year long. Again, I'm not going to call him elite. No one should be calling him elite. He's working. He's peeling in. He's rotating when he's the low man defensively. He's trying his best fighting over screens. That isn't always great. There were a couple of pick and rolls where Chris Paul's like, hey, let's get the switch with Michael Porter Jr. We know we got Jokic in the drop. Let's force him to navigate. He did get dinged a little bit there. That man is trying. He's working. He hasn't been an active liability. And I think a lot of people heading into this series just kind of assumed, oh, well, he got torched, last time we saw him in the playoffs. So surely he's still the same guy. He's not the same guy. I think he deserves his flowers for the improvement that he's made on that end. Any closing Nuggets Suns thoughts?
No, I'm very interested to see how it develops. Can Phoenix continue to generate the shots they want to? And what kind of impact does that have? I still think there's more left for them offensively. There's still more shots they can generate. But if they can't open up those quality threes and they're not able to force Denver into rotation where they're able to get to drive and kick and maybe get some easy ones, It's going to be tough.
Last thing I have on the Phoenix front, like I touched on top with Denver's game plan, they are forcing DeAndre Ayton to make a lot of decisions. Like I just think you just need better DeAndre Ayton moving forward. I think that's just a quick note there. Just a little bit more aggression from him, quicker processing if necessary. Defensively, I felt like he really did fight in game two. I do want to give him the hat tip for that. But just in general, they needed that particular matchup. He wasn't going to outplay Jokic. That was never realistic. You don't want the gap to be as drastic as it's been through 2 games. And so as the series goes back to Phoenix, like I think Phoenix is hoping for a little bit more for him on both ends of the floor. And I think he can do it, but they're going to need it if they want to, attempt to notch this thing up with the 2 games in Phoenix.
Also, I do have one last thought. What a night from Nikola Jokic.
Yeah.
But he got some tough buckets. I'm just saying, if you want to do the whole, go watch the film. That man got some tough buckets over and over and over again. Put some respect on his name.
Put some respect on his name, indeed. Scored on all 3 levels, did so efficiently. Let's move to the Heat and the Knicks. What a game for the Miami Heat. A wild one in which New York came out early saying, we are putting our heads down. We are getting downhill. 22 paint points in the first quarter. Eric Spoelstra gives the pep talk, says, absolutely not. Why are we surprised at what the Knicks are doing? This is what they do. They buckled down. We got good stuff from Jimmy Butler until the ankle went kaput, and he closed out that game while also practicing his shooting form in the corner without really being able to move. And the Knicks, I think, involved him in like 1.5 ball screens after he twisted the ankle. It was just, there were a lot of oddities in this game.
Is that what you want to talk about? Is that where you want to get to? You want to get to the heart of it? You want to say, why didn't they attack Jimmy Butler?
That part was odd. That's not where I want to start, though. I did find that odd. I'm going to be very clear about that. That was odd.
We can circle back.
We'll circle back. But what I really wanted to hit on in this game will pop for me. The defensive game plan against Jalen Brunson is what popped for me very early. I came into this, and I think we talked about it on the pod. And it's like, hey, if I'm Eric Spoelstra, I probably start with Gabe Vincent on Jalen Brunson. Like I don't think Gabe Vincent is an elite defender. I think he's a solid one. But put Gabe Vincent on him and then use the length behind him to just kind of shrink the floor. We're going to show bodies and go from there. And, because I'm a person with a microphone and not Eric Spoelstra says, hey, we're going to start this game with Jimmy Butler on Jalen Brunson. We are throwing length at you. Not only are we throwing length at you, we are putting our best defender on you. More importantly, though, we're going to have help at the nail when we can get it there. If Josh Hart spaced 1 pass away or if RJ Barrett spaced 1 pass away, we're helping off of you so Jalen Brunson isn't able to get downhill easily. And behind that, Bam Adebayo, most switchable big in the NBA, you are in a drop. We are not letting Jalen Brunson lead the dance if we can help it. We are not getting bludgeoned on the offensive glass if we can help it. And I think that collective game plan, and it really popped in the second half when Miami doubled down and showed even more help off of Josh Hart and more help off of RJ Barrett. They did not let Jalen Brunson lead the dance, particularly in that second half. The work that Bam did, I wish I could remember which Twitter account tweeted out the box out stats from that game. Bam lapped the field in box outs. He logged 12, but it was probably more than that if you go back through the film. Bam did work keeping Mitchell Robinson off the glass. And because Mitchell Robinson he's bigger, more athletic, and can jump higher, he still got those tap outs. I think he finished with 5 offensive rebounds in this game. But New York didn't bludgeon them like we've seen in some of the regular season matchups. And just being able to cut off that lifeline in the second half is where Miami was able to be in position to win, even with Jimmy Butler suffering the ankle injury. So I think that's what popped for me. They did a really good job on Jalen Brunson, and it really popped in the second half.
I mean, this was going to be a series of who could make the adjustment first from where they were in the previous playoff series. To your Jalen Brunson point, I thought Miami was really locked in. And I think setting the tone with Jimmy Butler on Brunson was so important because of the activity he has on the off-ball actions. They will involve Brunson in movement. And then it was interesting to see the Knicks kind of try and cycle and find ways to try and open things up for Jalen Brunson. If you go back to the Cavs series, part of the powerful nature of what he was able to do is I can hit every button in this series. Garland, Mitchell, Biggs, I can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy made it interesting. Then they wanted to, hey, let's switch Jimmy off the matchup. Now let's go to empty corner pick and roll. Here's some nail help. If you have a matchup you like and Jimmy's not on you, guess where Jimmy is? Jimmy's helping. He wanted to go at Max Strus. He wanted to go at Duncan Robinson. He wanted to go at Kyle Lowry. So they were trying to find the matchup for him. And I think for Miami, the most important thing is, as you said, you can't let him lead the dance. You have to make it as tough as you can on him. It's tricky with the early help because he's a shifty, crafty player. He doesn't have to always get that deep. It's just about him being in a rhythm and finding a spot. And the more you can work and do that early, the better off you are. Now, the other interesting part about this series is just thinking about Miami's ball movement and their ability to generate shots against the Knicks' help defense is the one thing that's the one battle that my mind is going to.
Mhm.
And the Knicks are going to have to adjust because this is a different series. Their scheme is based on help, early help. Often we saw how effective it was against Cleveland. This is a little different because of Miami's shooting and the people they have spaced and their cuts. So you're not sure, if you're in early, that's great. But if you're just ball watching, hey, here's Haywood Highsmith cutting behind you.
Yep.
And now, oh wait, it's Kevin Love and Max Strus both over here. So the Knicks were in, but it was not the same commitment that they had in the Cavs series.
Mhm.
And then Miami plays with a better flow than Cleveland, if that makes sense. In the sense that a lot of the movement from the Cavs came within their sets. With Miami, they can play outside of the play. And so there's going to be more of a flow, one screen, now it's a cut, now it's another thing. It's not as stationary. So the Knicks have to figure out how to make that adjustment defensively. I think that's a big part for me. What say you?
No, I think that's a good point. And the playing outside the play portion of it really popped for me, again, particularly in the second half of this game. Because I think just with the Jimmy Butler usage in general, like heading into the series, I was like, okay, Jimmy Butler is great. Like, I think Jimmy Butler is still just going to be the best player in the series. Obviously, this is pre-injury for him, but I think he's going to be the best player in the series. I think Milwaukee, and I said this on the preview, I think Milwaukee has better individual defenders than some of what the Knicks could throw out, but the Knicks are going to be a lot more willing to show help. And so even early in the game, Jimmy may get a post up or may get an ISO, but he's seeing someone creep over from the nail. He is seeing someone peel in early on the weak side. We're seeing, even with the pick and rolls that he was involved in, in Milwaukee, it's all right, cool. Drew, you have to navigate this screen. You're going over, you're going under, you're navigating. Brook Lopez is way back here. Mitchell Robinson, again, I don't think he's as good of a defender as Brook Lopez, or at least didn't have the season that Brook Lopez had. But in terms of the space that Jimmy has, it's not the same. Mitchell Robinson's closer up to the level. So it was fun watching Jimmy kind of sort out, okay, how much room do I have here? And even if I do let me call a guard over the screen for me and get a matchup, one, it wasn't a guarantee that he was going to get the matchup because Josh Hart was not was not cooperating with a lot of those. But even if you did get the matchup, New York is very comfortable. Now let's all step up. Let's all step over. Let's make sure that he's going to see somebody. And if he makes a contested shot, fine. But we're not letting you get in that rhythm that you got in that first round.
But that's such an interesting dynamic in this series because while Miami doesn't have the same automatics, they get to play out of help. Jimmy Butler gets to draw extra attention. So for me, my concern early in that game was like, okay, does he want to shoot? And then I was like, okay, yeah, he does want to shoot. It's fine. But now you're mixing in Mitchell Robinson at the level and pick and roll. It's like, how much does New York really want to do that?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how much help do they really want to send? And how do they toggle that? Because Miami can make you pay in a different way. And secretly, generating shots has sometimes been an adventure for the Miami Heat. So if they're now able to kind of generate at this rate, like the big reason they won that game is because of the shots they could generate outside of Jimmy Butler. And shout out to Gabe Vincent, Kyle Lowry. I thought they had tremendous, tremendous performances. Those two have to be aggressive at all times.
The pull-ups
But
were very important. Yeah.
And that's where I think if New York can find their way defensively, they're going to feel a lot better about where they're at in the series.
Mm-hmm.
But it is going to be that mini battle back and forth. And I think offensively, they have to make quick decisions. If Miami's going to help to this degree, they've got to be able to mix in not just threes, but they're going to have to mix in drives. Miami can't, help and recover. Because I felt like in that third quarter of game one, it was just a lot of threes. It's like, hey, what are we mixing in? And obviously, no Julius Randle does change things, but it's very interesting to watch like what the Knicks did to the Cavs, and then the Heat being like, "Hey, we're going to do that to you."
Mm-hmm. It's a fun dynamic indeed. On that third quarter front, two things. One, just quick shout out to a mutual friend of the program, Cooper Moorhead, who wrote about some of the adjustments Miami made in that third quarter. One of them, RJ Barrett, had a really good first half, was able to get downhill quite a bit. Miami going from going over his screens to going under his screens can kind of play with the decisiveness a little bit. Like, wait, I have to navigate this now. Wait, do I take the pull up now? Do I want to drive against the space? A little bit of short circuiting there. And while we're on the third quarter, can we talk about Kevin Love and the performance
Talk about it. Kevin Love outlet passes for the win.
What a game for him. Like some timely shot making, but the outlet passes were very important. And again, I will emphasize him being able to clean the glass and throw those outlets is at least in part due to the box out work that Bam was doing. So you may see 7 or 8 rebounds for Bam in that game. Miami wouldn't have ended possessions without him boxing out. So even if he didn't individually get the rebound, he did his work there. But man, Kevin Love is very important. And he was my X factor because he can have that kind of impact on the glass if you're starting bigger with Bam Adebayo. The shooting, the pick and roll play, the handoff play can all be important for him. But my primary question was, hey, can Kevin Love hold up defensively? He mostly held up defensively.
Apologize to that man. It's been 2 series. He has done his job, Nekias.
He has.
Hey. This screen is here. I'm right here. I'm in front. The ball's in front. Are you back? I'm out.
That's all he's had to do. And something that you pointed out is that it's gone from very much a show and recover from Kevin Love most of the time to I'm just at the level and I'm not dropping back. I'm just making sure that my guy can navigate the screen and get back. So good call for you. But he did that. I will also say on this front, it felt like New York left a little bit on the table in regards to trying to play with Kevin Love. Oh, why the I think K-Love did his job. But like New York didn't hammer him the way that I anticipated him. Just in terms of even just the volume. Like Second Spectrum tracks how often the player is a screener defender. It was 10 times in game 1. And I remember writing a story back in March about how they just kind of hammered Kevin Love and pick and roll. In that game, early March, I think it was 10 empty corner pick and rolls that they ran at him. And it was a lot more than that overall. So for it to just be 10 total, and I think 6 of those came in the third quarter, which they opened the third quarter with a set empty corner pick and roll with Brunson and Obi Toppin, swing to Toppin. He drives Kevin Love, gets a layup. A little bit later in the quarter, another empty corner pick and roll. Toppin drives against Kevin Love, gets deep in the paint, makes the skip to RJ Barrett. He misses it. Like they were able to find some stuff in the third quarter. So I would imagine New York test him a little bit more in game 2 for talking adjustment. But that's a little bit left off the table for New York. And overall, you zoom out, K-Love did do his job. And because he was able to do his job, he was able to play more. And because he was able to play more, he helped on the glass. He had the outlet passes. And those were absolute dots, by the way. But he had a tremendous impact in this game.
A free throw, Jayson. Best quarterback in New York?
Kevin Love.
Okay. Kevin Love's defensive coverage worked so well that in my head, I imagined Spo went to Duncan Robinson and was like, hey, you can do that, right? Because that's all Duncan did. No. Duncan was like, wait, all I got to do is this? Sweet. And here's the trick about the playoffs, right?
Mm-hmm.
The key is you just need to do it well enough to where they just leave you alone.
Yep.
All you have to do is get out of the liability zone. If you're in the liability zone in the playoffs, it's an uphill climb. It's uphill time. They're just going to keep putting you in action. But if you're able to do your job 2 out of 3 times, 2 out of 5 times, all right, let's go somewhere else. Hey, Kyle Lowry, come here. You know what I mean? That type of deal.
Yeah. No, that's an astute point. So I'll see what that's going to look like in game 2 and moving forward. I think Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle, and also Jimmy Butler listed as questionable for game 2 as of this recording. I would be surprised if Jimmy plays in game 2, especially since game 3 is on Saturday and Miami has won the road game in New York. Like my guess as of recording is that Jimmy doesn't play. We'll see about that. With Julius Randle, I think he's absolutely going to end up playing a game too. What do you think what do you think the adjustment period would be like for him? Or what do you project New York to look like with him back in instead of Obi Toppin? Because I do think those two bring different things to the table. Like one, Randall's just better, so let me get that out of the way first. But beyond that, like I do think Randall helps with some of the creation to take some burden off of Brunson. Defensively, I think you can afford to switch a little bit more with Randall as opposed to Obi Toppin, because I think that's just a little bit different in terms of aptitude. But also New York does play faster. They do get out and transition a little bit more with Obi Toppin in. And Obi Toppin was one of the few shooters that did well from beyond the arc for New York in this game. So what do you think the trade-off's going to look like?
One, what does it do to the matchups?
Mm-hmm.
Does Bam now have to guard Julius Randle? Does that open Robinson back up as a roller? What's the usage look like for Julius Randle? Are we talking post-ups? Is he going to be spaced? Does he have the burst to get to these drives? It could go either way, but he'd be a big plus, I think, mainly for lineup balance. If the shot's going, if he's able to drive, get the matchups he likes, I think he's going to be a big plus for him.
Okay.
What do you think?
Like I think overall it will be a positive for New York. Like again, Julius Randle is a better basketball player than Obi Toppin. So let's get that out the way. I do think if Miami's going to send this much length and this much help at Jalen Brunson in particular, like they need someone else that they can trust to really put pressure on Miami's defense. And just the difference in what RJ Barrett looked like in the first half versus the second half, that just gives me a little bit of pause. Not that RJ can't do it and can't do it for a full game. Like we've seen it. We saw it in the Cleveland series. So I don't want to completely rule that out. But I think Miami is equipped to kind of deal with what he does. I think they need Julius Randle as an additional pressure point. And to your point, Bam on Julius Randle. Now, okay, Kevin Love, you got to battle with Mitchell Robinson now. Or even if it is Kevin Love, you take on Julius Randle, see what it looks like. It's going to be Love at the level and dropping back. Or if this turns to a late switch, like Julius Randle can still have some fun with that matchup if the ankle is really full and okay. And if you get Kevin Love in foul trouble, now what do you do? What is your alternative going to look like? Do you get the same spacing element from someone else? You go to Caleb Martin a little bit earlier. Now you're back small. Now it's advantage New York driving into the lane and also just getting back on the offensive glass. So I think he can still have a tremendous impact in this game. Do you have any closing Heat Knicks thoughts? Because if not, we can go to the lone series preview that we have on this episode.
I would just say, I know it's very loud that, hey, they didn't put Jimmy Butler in action. The first play was out of a timeout, and they attacked Kyle Lowry. That was just the set that they called. They did it again, so I get it. Then they tried to do it, and RJ Barrett got called for a foul.
Why would you scream like that?
and then they did a dribble handoff. Jalen Brunson to RJ Barrett. The Heat switch. Jalen Brunson is now being guarded by Jimmy Butler. RJ Barrett did not throw it to Jalen Brunson. And then they tried to, he's guarding RJ Barrett. They tried to have Josh Hart screen for him, and Miami switched and just showed a bunch of help. So they tried. They just got to execute it a little better.
That's fair. And on that switch play, I remember like it was coming from right to left, and Jimmy Butler literally did not move. It's like, all right, cool. We about to run this handoff. We're going to this side. We got to force suspension. Jimmy just here. Like, oh, I see. Which, hey, maybe clear aside and get the matchup. You know, to your execution point, like there are ways to kind of force the issue there. But yeah, that's fair. It was just jarring to see. Again, Jimmy could not really move, and the shot of him just practicing the shot on the other end was just funny to look at. But
outside of that, my only thought is if the Knicks can get their defense back up in order and kind of limit some of the shots that Miami can generate, I think the series changes. If Miami can continue to get these type of looks with at some point a healthy Jimmy Butler, like I still think there's more for Bam Adebayo to do in pick and roll than it seemed in game one. There's some things left on the table.
Yeah. Which on that point, very quickly, Whoever's in pick and roll with Bam Adebayo, please throw passes that he can catch. Bam Adebayo, if you have catchable passes, gather them, brother. Gather them, brother. Let's help each other in this regard. Anyway, to the series that has had me in a headlock since it got locked in after Steph Curry just casually dropped 50 in a game 7. Just neither here nor there. The Golden State Warriors and the Los Angeles Lakers are set to face off against each other. We got Steph versus LeBron again. Go ahead.
Real quick before you go in, I know you're in a headlock. How wild is it we get Steph Curry against LeBron James in the second round?
Yeah, that's
And how wild is it that there were whispers of, hey, the Lakers can make a run, the Warriors can make a run.
We've got to find out who's going to make that run.
One of them is going to the conference finals. That's kind of nuts, right? And then another thing, just real quick.
Mm-hmm.
So you remember when I said, hey, the Warriors only have to win 4 road games?
Yeah.
So that bit did not include them winning 2 in one series.
Well,
and somehow they still only have to win 4.
I was about to say, the fun thing about it is that this is a 6 seed, 7 seed, so the Warriors have home court. They do not have to win a road game in this series to win the series. That's amazing. But no, this has had me in a headlock because, as I like to do when I prep for like a playoff series, like, all right, cool. Let me look at what the regular season matchups look like. We know regular season basketball and playoff basketball is different, but let me at least see what the matchups were, what like the base schemes were, stuff like that. Of the 4 times that these teams have played each other, there was only one game that featured both LeBron James and Stephen Curry. And do you know when that was?
When was that played?
October 18th. AKA opening night, when Russell Westbrook was on the roster for the Los Angeles Lakers. What the heck am I supposed to do with any of that? James Wiseman got minutes in that game. That's for you, Dunker Spot community. James Wiseman was in that game. What am I supposed to glean from that? But at any rate, the Lakers did win the season series 3-1. And my mind, as it does when it comes to stuff like this, when I can't take much from the regular season matchups, like, okay, how exactly are they going to match up? And that's more so a Lakers defending Golden State question than the inverse for me, because I think the important characters, like we're going to see Kevon Looney on Anthony Davis to start. We're going to see Draymond Green roaming. If Jared Vanderbilt stays in the start lineup, which I once again have a Jared Vanderbilt question, if that's going to be the case, I would imagine Draymond gets Jared Vanderbilt. I think we're going to see Andrew Wiggins on LeBron James early on. Like I can kind of piece through what that's going to look like. For the Lakers, though, who are you putting on Steph Curry? Because I think Jared Vanderbilt defending Ja Morant and saying, hey, we don't want this guy to get to the rim, duck under, or fight over when necessary because you got left behind it. That's one thing. Asking Jared Vanderbilt to chase Steph Curry across a bunch of screens, that's a little bit different. And by a little bit, I mean very different. And that's before getting into, all right, cool. I will come off the stagger. I will get the ball. I will pitch it here. I will dart to the corner. I will then lift up. I will now go diagonally to the other corner. And then I will lift up again. Do you give that to Jared Vanderbilt? Do you start Jared Vanderbilt? Do you give it to Austin Reeves, who's quietly a very good off-ball chaser? What does that look like? So my mind immediately went to, how do the Lakers try to defend Steph Curry? And then
you didn't land on D'Angelo Russell?
I can't say that I did. Earnestly, I'm going to be honest. I did not land on D'Angelo Russell. Like I will say, if D'Lo gets that assignment, like that's just a red alarm. The Lakers are switching literally everything involving this guy. If D'Lo is starting on Steph, which there's going to be a lot of off-ball switching anyway, because you just don't want to give gaps to Steph Curry with him lifting up above the break or even cutting downhill, which overall, and especially in the game 7 we saw with Steph, and you've been saying it all year long, the drives and the finishing from Steph Curry, we got to put more respect on Steph Curry's name as a finisher and as a driver. He's really freaking good at it with either hand, different angles. It's wild what he does. But yeah, question number 1 is, how do the Lakers plan to guard Steph Curry, like conceptually?
Well, you didn't land on anyone, did you?
Like, I tossed it out on Twitter and I said, like, I might start Dennis Schroeder in this series. And I give Dennis the Steph matchup. And like the common rebuttal I got, which I think it's a fair rebuttal. Like the common rebuttal I got was like, hey, with what the Warriors just did on the glass, I don't know if I want to downsize against them, but I also just kind of counter with, well, Domantas Sabonis is a really good rebounder. Who else in the rotation is a really good rebounder for Sacramento? I think it's a little bit different with the Lakers. They have multiple good rebounders. They have a little bit more size collectively. So I don't think they get hammered to that same degree, which is why I feel comfortable saying, hey, let's take Vando out. Let's get Dennis Schroeder in. Because I think if he's off, if Vando is in, again, Draymond's going to get that assignment. He's going to be roaming all over. And you don't want Draymond, peak playoff Draymond, roaming around unimpeded. And I think at least with Dennis Schroeder, like you can still gap him off the ball, but you have an element of rim pressure with Dennis Schroeder as a driver that you can kind of flow into, and you get another ball handler out there. And I think what we saw in the Kings series was against certain lineups, we can just kind of spread out and say, hey, put your head down and get downhill. And I think Dennis gives you a chance to do that where Vando, I don't know how impactful he's going to be offensively. And so I think Dennis Schroeder is my answer. But if they do maintain the starting lineup, I probably start with Austin Reeves on Steph. Do I sound insane or?
No, I mean it's probably gonna be D'Lo or Austin Reeves, one or the other. So I mean, I imagine we'll see how that goes with the drives. It's a very interesting series because I think on one end the Lakers are gonna have to readjust to a team that plays with this level of movement that can put you in a lot of different actions. I do think the Lakers have an opportunity to make this series muddy.
Mm-hmm.
And so, because of what they can do in the half court, because of the pace they play with, if they're having success, that may bottle the Warriors down a little bit. And they're comfortable playing in that way. So, if you go back to that Kings series, the Kings kind of got towards that a little bit, but it wasn't really what they do.
Mm-hmm.
For better or worse, this is kind of what the Lakers do at this point. They are who they are. So they're going to do what they do in the half court. And if they're able to get AD going, get LeBron going, mix in some drives, can they kind of junk it up that way?
Mm-hmm.
And now put the Warriors on, you have to score in our set defense. We have size, we have length. We can bother you that way. But then it's like, are the Lakers going to play with the tempo they need? Like, this isn't the one pass, one shot type series where, Memphis is also going to throw stones. And you guys are just going to be in a rock fight. Like you're hoping Golden State will be there with you. But if they're not,
it's kind of tough.
And then it's like, how much Draymond and Anthony Davis interaction do we get? And what side does that favor?
I think just to quickly answer that one, I think if we see Draymond on Anthony Davis when the Warriors are not in a small ball lineup, I think this bodes well for the Lakers. Because that means Anthony Davis has dominated the Kevon Looney matchup in some way, shape, or form. Like, I think when teams go small, like, obviously Draymond's going to get Anthony Davis. And I think, we've seen throughout the years, like, Draymond has done a decent job. Not decent, it's kind of underselling, but he's done a good job on Anthony Davis. He's made life tough. We have seen plenty of possessions where the size that Anthony Davis has and his ability to get downhill or just finish over the top with jumpers can get the best of Draymond because the size difference is what it is. We've also seen Draymond just push Anthony Davis off his spot, beat him to spots, use the quick hands, and just really disrupt what Anthony Davis wants to do inside the arc. But so I think overall, again, if we see Draymond and Anthony Davis and Kevon Looney's also on the court, that's a problem. Or if we see the small ball lineup earlier than expected because Kevon Looney has now picked up 2 fouls in the first 4 minutes, that's going to be a problem. And one thing I had in my notes, it's like, hey, can Anthony Davis draw 2 defenders? Which seems like a weird question to ask. We know how good Anthony Davis is. The Warriors are absolutely going to start with Kevon Looney. And they're going to trust, hey, he may score on you. He's not going to score on you enough or in a way that makes us send a whole bunch of help, that makes us bend. If Anthony Davis can do that, if the Warriors start creeping over a little bit more help on some of his mid-post touches, or they really start running people at him when he faces up and starts to drive and really try to disrupt him, I think the Lakers are going to be in a better spot because a lot of what stood out in that Memphis series. Like, it didn't feel like they were moving Memphis a ton. And even when the Lakers were blowing Memphis out in a couple of these games, it was more so because Memphis turned the ball over, they missed shot, and they were able to get in transition. It wasn't because they were just dicing them up in the half court and getting a bunch of good looks.
I have a question.
Okay.
What do you trust more? The Warriors' ability to defend dribble penetration or the Lakers' ability to drive and get paint touches?
That is also a question that's had me in a headlock. Because I think, in theory, this should be something that the Lakers can lean their hat on. But because LeBron has been dealing with the foot ailment and he's playing through that, and he can only get to the real drives in bursts or in transition, and as we saw it towards the latter end of that Memphis series, okay, I'm going to be off ball, I'm just going to cut, or I'm going to pass and cut. And that's kind of been a way for him to generate rim pressure, and I think that's a smart counter for him with where he is health-wise. I worry in this case because, one, I think the Warriors have, in terms of like body type, they have the kind of defenders to stay in front of LeBron. The Lakers still don't have shooters that I think Golden State are going to be scared of, in a sense. Not that they don't have guys that can make shots, but I think Golden State's going to be comfortable sinking in. I might lean Warriors in this case, which is not where I thought I would be if you asked me this question in like December or January. It definitely would have been where I was in December or January. But I think with how they've kind of locked in defensively, and in addition to, again, like LeBron's not 100%. Now, a counter to that could be maybe he doesn't need to drive as far if they lean more into the post-ups, but like, how do they space beyond that? Because again, Golden State, I think is going to feel comfortable sinking off of some guys on the perimeter. So I think I lean Golden State. Where do you land on that?
Yeah, I was stuck in between. I think the Warriors are going to have that ability to keep the ball in front, because if the Laker guards are able to get downhill like that, on top of what LeBron does, on top of what Anthony Davis does, that becomes a different blend. And we saw in the games where the Lakers were able to really get to Memphis, it was the others who were doing things. They were able to get drives. They were able to drive and kick, make shots. That opens up a different portal for Golden State. I think also maybe recency bias, but that Sacramento series, when they couldn't keep the ball in front, it didn't look great for them defensively. When they did, they had success. So I think it's a key for both of these teams. Do you trust the Warriors' ability to go small in this series?
That I don't know. I guess on that front, I'm curious to what their actual small ball lineup would be in this series.
The Warriors?
Yeah. I think naturally, like, Steph's going to be in, Clay's going to be in, Wiggins going to be in, Draymond's going to be at the 5. Do they go back to Jordan Poole as the 5th in this lineup? Do they want to go Gary Payton II in this lineup instead? Because they trust the defense more, but that hurts the spacing. Do we see them dust off Jonathan Kuminga? Or is that done for? Has Moses Moody done enough? And can he make enough shots? Because he's going to be another guy that I think the Lakers treat as, okay, if you knock down shots, congratulations. We're not going to guard you like that. But can Moses Moody feel good? Like, I guess my mind immediately goes to, what is their small ball lineup? Again, which is not where I thought I would be again at this pace if you've been following my thoughts on the Warriors throughout the season. But I do wonder what that looks like. Because I do think the Lakers, it's just a general driving point, if we get into the small ball lineups, the Lakers are equipped to bully some of the weaker defenders that the Warriors have in a way that even the Kings were. Like, the Kings, they did some mismatch hunting, but it wasn't to the overpowering degree. It's just, okay, Malik Monk, you're going to boogie. De'Aaron Fox, you're going to boogie. With the Lakers, if LeBron tells you to come here, that can look a whole lot different. Even this version of him.
And that was my point. LeBron, this is going to be a different LeBron. Or could it be a different LeBron? Because he is going to tap that Steph Curry pick and roll button. Come here, my friend. Let's see what that show and recover looks like. Can he attack that? What does that open up for Golden State? if Jordan Poole's on the court? Does he have another person he can attack? What do the matchups look like for Golden State to where who's the actual screener? Like, is it just Dennis Schroeder screening? And is it Austin Reeves?
He's been the one.
He's been the guy. So can LeBron hit that button? Can they open up things for Anthony Davis? How aggressive is he going to be in the Looney matchup, hypothetically? Which version are we going to see? Is it perimeter face up shooting? Is it post up? Because Looney just had himself a heck of a series. Now he'll have to adjust because he's not going to give AD that much space. But it's a different battle. I'm very intrigued to see what this looks like.
Yeah, this is gonna be a fun one. And I think my overarching theme or my biggest question was just, and this bounces off of your driving point. Who wins the interior battle in this series? That's with the drives, that's with the post up / post splits on the Golden State side. That's going to be with the rebounding. That's going to be the general rim protection, because I would imagine, much like Kevon Looney's going to be guarding Anthony Davis, and the Warriors going to hope that this can stay a one-on-one or a one-on-one plus a little bit of help affair. Anthony Davis is going to be on Kevon Looney so he can stay near the basket. That's going to put a lot of strain on the Lakers to navigate this stuff up top. Like, hey, we're going to have to really fight over and stay attached here, because if not, that can get a little dicey. But if we do see some of those slips out of some of the action that Golden State likes to run, can you eliminate some of those? Against Sacramento, they bottle it. This is a layup or a wide open layup. Against the Lakers, you get this slip and Anthony Davis is back there. And Anthony Davis has been the best defensive player in the playoffs so far. That can look a little bit different. And so I think if whoever's able to win that battle is going to do very well. And I think with the inherent math advantage that the Warriors have in terms of their three-point shooting, if they're able to keep the paint battle neutral, they're going to be in a good spot. If they get bludgeoned, this looks a lot different. And I think just the general size upgrade we're seeing from the Kings to the Lakers that's going to be a little bit of a culture shock for the Warriors as well. Again, this series has had me in a headlock thinking about it.
I can tell.
Yeah. Let's close it out. Steve, who are your X factors in this series?
The guards, all of the guards, every single guard, both teams, all of the guards, not named Steph Curry. Laker guards need to show up. D'Angelo Russell, they need his scoring. They need his playmaking. They need him to be solid. They need Dennis Schroeder's driving ability. They need Austin Reeves' playmaking and ability to get to the line and score. They need their guards. Golden State, they need a Klay Thompson series. They need Jordan Poole to score the basketball. Guards have to show up. Whoever guards show up, probably going to raise their hand up, in my opinion.
There you go. Left hand up. They are the Commanders. For me, it's going to be Kevon Looney as an X factor. Again, the defense against Anthony Davis is going to be very important. If the Lakers, instead of switching, if they do get more aggressive against some of these pick and rolls or some of these off-screen actions, and Kevon Looney is slipping into space, again, he's going to have to nail those short roll decisions. And if the Warriors continue their trend of, okay, we're going to start our action 35 feet from the basket instead of 28 feet from the basket, that's a lot of runway. Can Kevon Looney nail that? Can he take 2 or 3 dribbles and then make the pass? Or 2 or 3 dribbles and then get to like a short little push shot? What does that look like? And on the Lakers side, it's D'Angelo Russell for me. It's got to be deloading. It can't be no tap. The pull-ups are going to have to be there. Regardless of what his defensive matchup is going to be, I don't think he's going to be Steph Curry. But if he's off the ball, like, he's going to have his head on a swivel. The switches are going to have to be there. He's going to have to communicate. He's going to have to hold up because his shot making is going to be very important for the Lakers in this series. Series prediction for you, Steve. Who do you have winning it?
Well, there is a path for both of these teams. I can't shake that LeBron has a little bit extra in the tuck, and they can make this a gross series. But I'm going to go Warriors in 6.
Okay. I was hoping you were going to take the Lakers in 6 or Lakers in 7, because I am taking the Warriors in 7 in this one. I think I have, not by much, but I have more questions about the Lakers in terms of their matchups and stuff than I do with Golden State. I think, just zooming in on the stars, I think the Warriors have more answers to how do we deal with LeBron and Anthony Davis versus how do the Lakers deal with Steph Curry. And I think that's what kind of swings it for me in this one. I think it's very much going 7. And please, everyone stay healthy in this series. Like, I want everyone to be healthy. ever in the NBA. Please health in this series. I don't want to see this one derailed at all. This is shaping up to be too good of a series for any shenanigans there. I hope everyone stay healthy. I do have the Warriors in 7 though. To close this one out, again, Steph Curry went for 50 to knock the Kings out. We're a little bit removed now from Boston, knocking out the Atlanta Hawks. But very briefly with the Hawks, not many free agents on the roster. Aaron Holiday's an unrestricted free agent. Trenton Forrest is going to be a restricted free agent in this one. Where do you see the Hawks going from here? Full offseason, first time, Quinn Snyder's going to get the full season now. What do you think they should target? How do you think they should operate this offseason?
Well, they know what doesn't work. They have their answers now. So I think it's time to probably pivot from John Collins.
Please, for everyone's sake.
Probably pivot from Clint Capella. And I think you've added more talent to your bench. This might be the best bench they've had in a while, considering the pieces they have. Try and find people that are going to fit around Trey and DeJounte and see what you can add to it. I think they have a better idea. They know the answers for this court in total. And now you just got to move forward with the next step.
I got you. The John Collins note was going to be the big one for me. Like, again, I like John Collins. I think he's good. And him being in trade rumors for like the last 3 years just has to be exhausting for everyone. It's just time to tap that button and try to, if you can get a versatile wing or two, that will be helpful. Obviously, versatile wings are very highly valued across the NBA, so you may only be able to get one of those. I guess stylistically, just get more 3-point shooting in the room. Like when Snyder said it, and with every pregame or postgame interview you see with Hawks players, Trae Young, DeJounte Murray, Sadiq Bey, Bogdan Bogdanovic, whoever you hear talk, and they're asked about what is Quinn Snyder like, every single one of them have referenced, he wants us to take more threes. He wants us to get the pace up. He wants us to take more threes. If you're trading John Collins, you're not going to get a star for him. Prioritize some 3-point shooting because that is going to open up the floor for whoever your 5 is going to be to roll to the paint. If it is Clint Capella, if he's still there for another year, you're going to have more space to roll into. If you do move on from Clint too, that's going to open up more room for Onyeka Okongwu, who I'm a very big fan of. You know this, Steve. I am ready for more Onyeka. But more importantly, you're opening up more space for Trae Young and DeJounte Murray to operate with. And you have to maximize what those two do. So get some spacers in the room if you're the Atlanta Hawks. And for the Kings, heck of a season, first playoff berth in a very long time. They pushed the Warriors to 7. The game 7 it wasn't very pretty for them, particularly that third quarter where Kevon Looney just grabbed every rebound you can think of. In that third quarter, kind of turned the tide, but exciting season nonetheless. What would you like to see from the Kings this offseason?
The Kings offseason is tricky. I don't want to say it's tricky. One, they're ahead of schedule. A tremendous year. They have nothing to hang their heads down about. They did a great job. It was great to see Sacramento back in action, back in the playoffs. That crowd was rocking. For me, it's just adding more pieces to what fits. You know what works. You have a good culture. You know the type of players that fit well in that system. And you're probably going to have some intrigue that people want to, hey, this looks fun. That's positive. The danger here, success. It's never guaranteed, especially in that Western Conference.
Yeah.
So you can't necessarily bake this into, we'll be back next year. You may. You very well may. You have the talent to do it again. But you need to make the moves. Add a few more playmakers. Try and get some more off the ball bounce. Get some more defense in there. Add shooting. Whatever you need to add to your pot, just add to it. Mm-hmm. But don't just assume it's going to be apples to apples next year.
That's fair. And I think it's tricky because I think what they have to find a way to improve their defensive versatility. That's in the wing room. That's also in the big man room. They have to find a way to do that without cramping their spacing. Because they need as much room around the Domantas Sabonis, De'Aaron Fox partnership as possible. And like I could name some like pseudo 4s and 5s that you can place alongside Domantas Sabonis. Will those guys space the floor enough? I don't know. You don't want to cramp that. They have a really tough needle to thread. They are good, and I don't think they should try to take a step back or anything like that. But there's also tricky because, to your point, this is a tough conference. Like they could be as good as they are next year. And if the New Orleans Pelicans are healthier, what does that do for the rest of the West? And on down the road, if the Clippers are healthier, and Lord knows we know what that's been like the last few years, just in terms of the health. But like it gets really tough. And so I struggle to be like, hey, y'all got picks. Go get OG Anunoby if you can. I think that's a tremendous fit. If they make that move and those are all of your assets, and then you wind up 6 next year, what does that look like? So I think if they can find some defensive talent and some defensive versatility that unlocks some scheme versatility for them, not necessarily bargain bin, because I think they're going to have a little bit of cap flexibility. If you can find some pieces there, I think that's where you go. I don't know if they're ready for the big push all your chips in move yet, but this is a really fun season to build off of. Just on the free agency front, Harrison Barnes unrestricted, Trey Lyles unrestricted, Terrence Davis also unrestricted, Alex Len, Chimezie Metu also unrestricted. They got some decisions to make there, especially with Harrison Barnes. That Game 7 was not great for him, but 1 year for the Kings. And with that, I would like to say thank you first and foremost for supporting us through 200 episodes. We are ecstatic. This has been a journey and a half. Steve, I can't thank you enough for devoting as much time as you have to this platform and sharing the immense knowledge that you have. I really appreciate you on and offline. So thank you. And to all the dunkers out there, thank you for supporting us the way that you have, because we would not be 200 episodes in if y'all did not like us or support us, give us the feedback to make us better, growing the community that we have with the podcast, with the watch parties and everything else that we do. Y'all have been right there every step of the way. So genuinely, thank you for all the support that you've given us. And with that, go ahead.
I'm about to say what he said.
Oh, you got it. And with that, thank you for listening to this episode of The Dunker Spot. If you have not already, please subscribe to us. We are on Apple, Spotify, Google, Stitcher, Podbean. Wherever you get your podcasts, you can find us. You can follow me on Twitter at Nekias NBA. You can follow Steve on Twitter at SteveJones20. Join the Dunker Spot community on Twitter if you have not already. We're having some fun discussions in there. Join the Dunker Spot watch parties. The link will be in the description. We are having fun watching these playoff games, live analysis, some antics in the chat. We're doing all kinds of live analysis now. It was a quick little teaser. Hop in there, see what we're doing when we're watching games. The commercial breaks are a lot more fun now. Come have fun with us. It's free to join, easy to sign up for, no shenanigans whatsoever. So come do that with us. This episode is going to be on YouTube, so subscribe to JJ Redick's YouTube channel if you haven't already. And with that, we will catch y'all later in the week.
I'm 36. I'm tired, man.